What's up, everybody? Matt Gajewski here, back again with the Odd Shopper channel. And today we're talking some college football bets ahead of week 5. We're going to talk the 3 games on Thursday night. Before we get started, make sure to hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you know when this and all other content goes live. If you've done that, thank you. It helps us a ton. Before we get started, a phenomenal offer from BetMGM. Right now, new users can deposit, make a $10 wager, and you are instantly going to get $200 in the form of bonus bets. One of the best deals in the market right now, and these bonus bets go a long way to your profitability long-term across books. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, please call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. You must be 21 years old to take advantage of this. The link is in the video description below. This is limited time, so make sure you take advantage of this before it goes away. All right, we're going to talk the 3-game slate on Thursday night. It's a fun slate. I love it anytime we can talk these G5 teams. We'll kick things off with Middle Tennessee State taking on Western Kentucky. The spread is 5.5 in favor of Western Kentucky. The total is 60. What I really like in this game is that total of 60 points. Right away, you've got two teams that play with some pace. Middle Tennessee is 54th. Western Kentucky is 47th. Western Kentucky has also played some pretty difficult opponents, so they've been slowed a little bit. You'll see an Ohio State game on there. Both these teams are also pass heavy, which works into the weakness of their opponent on defense. Middle Tennessee State, 55.5% pass rate. Western Kentucky, they're up at 66%. So to break this down, Middle Tennessee State's offense has struggled a little bit. They've played a tough slate of games, man. 2 SEC teams. They've got Alabama and Missouri. Then they faced Colorado State, and that game honestly could have been worse. Middle Tennessee State had a turnover on downs at the Colorado State. 25 in addition to 2 turnovers here. But their quarterback, Nick Vattiato, has been pretty good here, completing 71% of his passes, only 6.3 yards per attempt, but he's been pretty good at taking care of the ball, and he's mobile. Offensive line has been great here, just a 21% pressure rate. And this Western Kentucky defense hasn't scared anybody to start the year. They're outside the top 100 in total defense. They're 122nd against the run. So that's something I like here. Vattiato with his mobility. You have Peasant and Krettel in the run game. Krettel's averaging 6.3 yards per attempt. And again, you've seen 2 SEC teams on the schedule. That's pretty good efficiency for Krettel. Right away, I think Middle Tennessee should score. Then we go to the Western Kentucky side. They do have some injuries. Plenty of receivers that have been out for them. Blue Smith, Dalvin Smith, Jimmy Holiday, Trevor Borland, their tight end. Marquise Stepp missed some time. He's their running back. But what they do have is wide receiver 1 Malachi Corley to throw to. You also have incumbent signal caller Austin Reed. Been a tough slate for him to start the year, but he's mobile, had over 200 yards rushing last year. Also averaged 339 as a passer. This should become an easier matchup as he gets into conference play. And right away, Middle Tennessee State's defense doesn't scare you. They're 127th in total defense. They're also 127th in coverage. Not to mention any offensive line issues that Western Kentucky has had shouldn't be an issue here. Middle Tennessee State, 116th in pass rush. This should be scoring for days, and as long as we don't see these teams trip each other up in the red zone, I think this eclipses 60. This is a number I've already played. Second game, we go to Temple, Tulsa. I actually think this is a similar game environment. I love the over. I took it at 55, seeing 55.5 right now. The half point, it's a key number, but it doesn't matter a ton to me. Temple is 20th in pace. They have a 68% pass rate. This is full air rate, and they've played some tough teams too. Talk about a tough game. They just get off facing Miami. Tulsa's 43rd in pace, and their pass rate has dropped. I think a lot of that has to do with Braylon Braxton's injury, their quarterback, but still 39.5%, and they've been efficient on the ground. We'll start things off on the Tulsa side and why I think they can score some points. Again, they're running that air raid. Dante Wright, their number 1 receiver, is expected to return for this game. And then you look at Tulsa's major weakness on defense. They've actually defended the run really well. What they haven't done is defend the pass. 130th in pass defense. Now, they've faced Washington and Oklahoma that needs to be mentioned here, but they also gave up some production to Northern Illinois, which was a pretty close game. Northern Illinois averaged more yards per play than Tulsa, and that was a game that Tulsa ended up winning. So it's not just all Penix and Dylan Gabriel dicing up this secondary. They've allowed some production in other spots too. Not to mention they have 3 injuries in their secondary. LJ Wallace hasn't played. Kenyon Williams missed last game. And DeMarco Jones missed last game. That's potentially 3 starters down in the secondary for Tulsa. So right away, I think you have E.J. Warner, Dante Wright, Zay Baines. This pass-catching crew for Temple should have an easier time moving the ball, easier than the games against Rutgers and Miami. On the other side, Tulsa has the injury to Braxton. He might return here. We'll see. Cautiously optimistic. But Cardell Williams has been able to facilitate an offense decently. They've kind of taken the ball out of his hands a little bit, which I think makes sense here. He has struggled with turnovers, but 9 yards per attempt is actually pretty good. He should just lean on Shoulders and Williams, his 2 premier receivers, when he can. But you look at this defense for Temple. They're pretty good overall, but they do not have a pass rush. They're 104th in that category. And they've given up a ton of production this year. So right away, like 24 points or 21 points to Akron's not great. This is a better offense here on the Tulsa side. And I think they'll be able to score, especially if they continue to play with their top 50 pace. So right away, this one's not quite as greasy as the former over. I mean, we're talking just 55.5 points. As long as Tulsa's 84th ranked offense can put some points on the board, I think we get some pretty good production here. Last thing before we move on, ton of injuries on Temple, on defense as well. So they rank 73rd overall, but Alex Odom got hurt their last game. He's one of their safeties. Rigsby's been out, linebacker. Morris has been out on the D-line. They've been missing another corner in McMurray. We're looking at potentially 4 or 5 starters out for Temple on defense. That should weaken that unit as well. Played over 55. I think 55.5 is completely fine. Last game here, Jacksonville State takes on Sam Houston. This one has a spread of 6.5, a total of 36.5. Absolutely brilliant total here. And that's because of Sam Houston. They play good defense. They play extremely slow, and they cannot score. This team is 122nd in pace. They have about a 50% pass rate, a lot of that due to game script. Jacksonville State, polar opposite. 7th in pace, but really run heavy. We're talking about just maybe a shade away from triple option here. 33% pass rate for Jacksonville State. Really tough game to bet for the volatility here. I tentatively side with Jacksonville State. I'll tell you up front, I haven't bet this game, but I do think they're the better team. Logan Smothers at quarterback has been much better than Zion Webb. He's taking care of the ball. His completion percentage is over 60%. We can't say that about Webb. And he's not much of a downgrade in the run game. This is a guy that had 21 designed attempts last week. The offensive line has been awesome here. They're allowing just 11.5% of a pressure rate. And I don't think they're going to see any resistance from Sam Houston, whose defense, once you adjust for competition, doesn't look great. They have the 78th ranked run defense. That's the biggest factor here. We know Jacksonville State is going to run all over this team. And then Sam Houston, can they score? I don't really know. They switched to Grant Gunnell at quarterback. Essentially the same efficiency metrics as Shoemaker. They lost their number 1 receiver, Quavez Humphrey, before the year. They just lost their number 2, Ife Adeyi, in their most recent game. He got hurt immediately. So your pass catchers aren't great. You don't have a single rusher averaging more than 20 yards per game. The offensive line is allowing pressure on 35.5% of their dropbacks. That's one of the worst marks in college football. Jacksonville State hits the road here. I don't love the number, but if you force me to make a pick, my lean would be Jacksonville State minus 6.5. Lay those points on the road against a dysfunctional Sam Houston. That'll do it for us today. We'll be back tomorrow talking Friday's games. Something you want to hear about, let me know in the comments section. Otherwise, good luck, everybody. We'll see you again next time.